Hello and welcome to the British Dapper, and today we're talking about stay cool and look cool in the summer. So today's video has come about through a discussion with an old friend of mine who's travelled the world over the decades and has been in a lot of hot countries. And he said to me today, when we were talking about men's attire and about summer and how it's difficult to dress in the summer months, and he basically said to me, men this day and age have no style at all in the summer months. And to a degree I have to accept what he's saying, because it's too easy for people to dress so casually. There's no style to it, no substance. To the other extreme, even people like myself that like to sartorially look as good as we can, some of hot climates challenge us to achieve that, because it's that balance between being comfortable yet looking stylish. And so today's video, I'm going to look at 3 key areas that might be able to help you formulate your ideas for what to wear in the summer months or how to dress in warmer climates. It's not exhaustive, and I have to accept that in some climates it's just so hot it's impossible to look stylish, because it is literally, the temperatures are so severe. But if you're in a climate where you can dress sartorially well, and there are a lot of hot climates where you can still do that, these ideas might be able to help you. So the 3 key areas I'm going to look at today or focus on is colour, fit and materials. So let's start first of all with the colour. Now, colour is one of those things that in Mediterranean climates and more northern hemisphere climates, yes, you can wear those navies, you can wear lighter colours, tans, fawns, chocolate browns, and that's not a problem in the summer months. But if you're looking at a more hotter climate or midsummer, those colours are not necessarily the best colours to use because of the darkness in them. Blacks, browns, navies, they actually draw in light, and with light we mean they actually retain heat. Whereas lighter colours like fawns, taupes and creams and off-whites reflect light, no different to white. And so that principle over the decades has been the cornerstone of men's attire in hot climates. And if you go back into the 20s, 30s, all the way up into the 60s and 70s, if you go to any hot climate where they have to wear a suit, then the chances are you're going to find them wearing very light colours or pastel colours to reflect the light, and therefore reflect the heat away from them more than drawing it in. The next thing is the fit. Now, this is one of those things that has been corrupted over the last 3 or 4 decades, where style has overcome function. In earlier times, function was the main thing about men's attire. So in the hot climates we had looser fits, more casual fits that allowed the air to circulate around the ensemble we were wearing, and therefore we had baggier fitted trousers, we had pleated trousers, we had jackets that were a lot looser fitting, shirts that were a little bit baggier to allow the air to circulate around the arms and the chest area, and also in the waist area as well as in the legs. And when I say corrupted, for example, now we see much tailored and tapered suits, which again doesn't really help because it traps warm air against the skin and then increases our body temperature. It doesn't actually help us circulate the air around our body. The third thing I'm talking about now is the actual materials themselves. So we're not looking at worsted wool or flannel where it is a thick material. It doesn't allow necessarily the flow of air as easily as an unstructured jacket or trousers or unlined jacket and trousers. And the material itself also does help circulate and allow the material to breathe. So for example, linen's a much finer material, but it has a looser weave, therefore allowing the air to pass through it a little bit easier than something that's quite dense and fibrous like wool can be. To the other extreme, a very fine wool can be woven and it still is thin, lightweight material, and it allows the air to pass through. I would suggest that those types of natural materials are much better than any man-made fibres. Polyesters, acrylics, those types of materials actually trap and retain heat. So they're not necessarily the best items to go for. But when we come to cottons and linens, they allow that airflow a little bit easier. And we can go for the much lightweight materials. So those three are areas of where we're really looking at today. And so when it comes to those suits, for example, now if we have to wear a suit and we have to wear a tie, then maybe we're looking at a cotton material, lightweight, or a linen cotton mix, which is ideal for allowing a little bit of airflow and yet retaining that crisp look about what we're wearing. That jacket is a little bit more of a looser fit and the trousers a little bit baggier, and it's still a really cool look for the summer months. I'd suggest you go for a cotton shirt, still quite a loose fit, maybe a cotton tie or something a little bit lighter, something that's not going to really draw the heat, the light to it. So navy ties and dark brown ties, black ties really do draw the heat to this area, whereas lighter colours will actually reflect that heat away a little bit and make you feel a little bit more comfortable if you have to wear a tie. Shirts, try to get a loose, slightly looser fit. We don't want something too tight and restrictive, and same in the actual body, because it again traps the heat and the warmth against the skin, so it doesn't really help with that circulation of air. Something else to consider though when we're wearing this sort of ensemble, if you like, is that loose fit, that casuality about the look. And that really does look, from a style point of view, far greater than somebody wearing a skin tight suit, even though it might be a beige suit or an off-white suit. But when they're really sweating profusely because the air is not circulating around. And I would argue that Mediterranean, Italian vibe where you've got a slightly looser fitting suit, but a very stylish way of putting it together is the way to go. So white shirts are a really good colour to use, and they are great for reflecting the light, but they also allow that really crisp look. But another colour that I like to use is blue. Blue gives you that cooler look. When people see you wearing blue, it looks a little bit cooler and more relaxed and not so formal. And it gives a little spot of contrast as well to the beige that you might be wearing, or the off-white or the cream that you're wearing. But when we're looking at that suit look, I think it's more a case of that relaxed style that really does help you deal with the heat of the day. And I know a lot of people say, well, you're wearing a jacket. But if it's really loosely fitted and really well designed, there's really not a problem wearing that sort of thing in the heat. As long as it's circulating air and it's not lined, you will have a great experience wearing something like that. Something else to consider is seasucker. Seasucker is a really good material, and this day and age you can get that lightweight material but have it in a three-piece suit design even, and it really does allow that relaxed look, almost formal in some regards with the three-piece suit and the tie, but it's a looser fit, and the looser fit allows the air to circulate a little bit more around. Linen suits are great, they look really good, but if they're 100% linen, then they can, through the heat of the day and sitting around, crease and wrinkle quite badly. So I'd always suggest going for something that's a little bit more along the lines of a cotton wool or a cotton linen mix, and you get that retention a little bit more in the material, so it doesn't wrinkle quite so quickly. All material will wrinkle over time, especially with heat and humidity, so it's just something you have to live with. But the right choice of material makes your life a lot easier in keeping that crisp look. And pocket squares or a very simply folded handkerchief adds a little bit of colour as well, and still helps that overall look from that style perspective. And when it comes to jackets and trousers, for example, they're a really good combination, and they can still be worn in those hot climates, but what I would look at is more pastel colours, that seagrass green as an example, or it could be those off-whites with white trousers, or much lighter, fresher colours. And the same with the trousers. It's more about the cut of the trouser, so double pleated, single pleated, but something gives you a little bit more room around the thigh and leg area to allow the air to circulate around. And it's always that area that really does help make you feel cooler. And the shirts, I would go for something that's a little bit more relaxed and more baggy in its fit. And if you take your jacket off, you can still wear that shirt, and it's still quite a stylish shirt because of maybe the collar or the design of the shirt. It's much more relaxed. Maybe the materials are more linen or cotton based. It allows the air to circulate around, but with a pair of trousers that are relaxed, you get a really nice aesthetic, a much more relaxed, casual look that's really good for those hot climates. Now, in that heat of the day, something we need to consider is about protecting our heads from that heat. And there are a couple of options open to you. So we could go for caps or hats. And I'm going to just talk briefly about caps. Now, caps are much more informal, and you can have linen or cotton hats, and they are quite thin material, so they keep the heat off. They're not necessarily the most comfortable things to wear because you're still going to get some heat from them, but they certainly do protect you from direct sunlight, and they do reflect a bit of heat from your head. So something to really consider, especially if you're dark haired or have no hair, then maybe it's wise to protect the head a little bit more than normal in those hot climates. Now, you could also go for something, for example, more of a hat design. Now, with hat, we could go for linens or cottons. Cotton fabric hats are still very good for a very informal or casual look. They reflect the heat, yet at the same time do give you a bit of shade as well, which is quite good in the heat of the day. Something else to consider though, besides those cotton based or linen based materials, is something that is more of a straw hat in nature, and you can get some really good designs here, various different colours, the materials that are being used as well to make that straw hat, but also the traditional Panama hat is also another great one to go for. And they are made from different materials. You can get a paper version, which is a pressed paper that looks like it's a straw hat. They tend to be more for reflecting heat. They're not so breathable. Yet we can have some that are made with seagrass and or coir, and they allow the air to pass through because they're a much more looser weave. And that's really good for getting the circulation around, yet still giving you some protection from the heat of the day or from the light. Panamas are really lovely material. They are woven and they do allow a little bit of circulation of air. They're really good for reflecting the heat, and you can use natural or bleached colours. But again, they are really good for keeping the head protected in those hotter climates, and yet still very stylish in this day and age, and goes particularly well with something along the lines of this ensemble. So you're wearing a taupe or off-coloured white or cream jacket, maybe a blue shirt, a light coloured tie, and a Panama on top of that will still look really good. And the final thing is footwear. Now, if we're trying to look that little bit more than just the casual style that you see most people wear at the beach or somewhere like that, or walking along the seafront, then maybe we're looking at something, if we're wearing something more sartorially, then something a bit more than flip-flops in the summer months. So for example, it should be something to consider seriously. So if you're going to wear those loafers, then maybe okay, don't wear socks with them, but wear no-show socks. It does allow you that freedom and letting a bit of air around the ankles and the legs, yet at the same time the shoe really does look good rather than a sandal or something along those lines. But if you wanted to go for something a little bit more relaxed, then maybe go for a ventilated shoe, and it could be lace up or a loafer based one, but it does allow a little bit of air to circulate through the actual footbed itself, through the shoe, and allows you to keep your feet a little bit cooler than wearing a dark coloured shoe. And you will note the shoe colours tend to be much more lighter tans. Again, that reflects the light a little bit better than any darker coloured shoe or, for example, loafer style shoe. So just a few ideas there for you there. It's difficult to maintain that balance between being comfortable and also being stylish, but hopefully by incorporating a few of these ideas you may be able to find that happy balance for you personally. So if the jacket is too much, then drop it down the level to where you're wearing a baggier shirt and a pair of baggy trousers, a nice pair of shoes, whether they be ventilated or light coloured loafers, then you will still have a really good look, and it actually accommodates those hotter climates. So I just want to mention we have a Patreon group as well, so depending on your level of access, you could have one-to-one sessions with myself or Q&A sessions once a month where we talk about any issues that you have that you want resolved. Or you can just talk to me on a casual basis if you wanted. We also have a WhatsApp group where you can talk to like-minded people and post ideas or concepts on there, and always great to catch up with other people. We also have regular get-togethers and formal meetings with each other, as well as weekly or monthly videos, depending on your level of access. So, for example, at the lower end, we have monthly videos, additional content, and the next level up, unique videos for the Patreon group only on a weekly basis, behind the scenes, what's happening with me in the week, and also those monthly meetings. So there are different levels, and depending on what you want, we can accommodate it. So check it out. I'll put the link below for you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to make a contribution to the channel, then please feel free to do so. We also love constructive comments, so if you'd like to make some, jot them down below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you've got a question you'd like to pose to us, or you'd like an answer to, then why not jot it down? We'll try and answer your question for you. We also like ideas for future videos, so if you want to make a contribution and make a suggestion about future content, then please, again, jot it in the notes below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The next video could be something that you've recommended or suggested. So until next time, take care.